I want to introduce Laurie McGregor Connor, class of 1979, Laurie, 1977, chair of the David Hamilton Smith Greek Alumni Award Committee. She is a Kappa Alpha Theta and served various roles at Ohio Wesleyan and Theta. I want to thank Laurie for her commitment to Greek life, Ohio Wesleyan, and helping to honor our alumni tonight. I turn it over to you, Laurie.
Thank you very much, Carrie. And I also will echo the folks that were on the panel earlier. It was terrific to hear them describe their experiences as the school we all love best. There's a song like that, the Kappa song that we used to sing. I wasn't in school when they sang it, but it's an old song. So thanks to Bob Abrams, Joni Manos Brown, Daryl Gibson, a former colleague of mine, good to see him, Laurie Meek, Maddie Miller, who knows my cousins in Coshocton, Ohio, the Jumpers, and Benita Wright-Smith. It's great to have you there. So I would like to welcome you all to our first Zoom ever, and maybe next year we won't have to Zoom, that would be swell, the David Hamilton Smith Greek Alumni Award Ceremony. So first let me thank last year's David Hamilton Smith Alumni Award Committee, who so ably chose this year's recipients, who we'll get to in a moment. Edie Bayer from Tri Delta, Kit Fayella, Chi Phi, Stacy Sheehan, I see her on the call tonight, Pi Beta Phi, and good old Nancy Biel-Rutkowski, who has 100 years of service at Ohio Wesleyan at this point. Our IFC representative was Max Berry, and our Panhellenic Conference rep was Shar Gross, who I saw on the registration list. I haven't seen her yet tonight, who is now an alumna. And then where would we be without Carrie Kirkpatrick, our able staff liaison, who is a member of Pi Beta Phi. So we're grateful for her help. Let me just issue a reminder that nominations are accepted until January 1st of June 1st of next year, 2021. And they are now online at the Ohio Wesleyan website under the alumni tab. We know there are many terrific, wonderful, and dedicated Bishop volunteers yet to be recognized, and we're happy to add folks to our pool. So, on with the awards. As a brief intro, the question is often asked, who was David Hamilton Smith? His older brother last year at this ceremony in Bigley Library, or as we used to call it, Bigley Beach, where we chatted all the time, he gave us a great description of his brother and his devotion and persistence in the medical profession. He was, David Hamilton Smith was a member of the class of 1953, a member of Delta Tau Delta, a philanthropist, and for many of the folks last year, and maybe some folks on this call now, did not realize that the Hamilton Williams Campus Center is a family legacy of his as a lead gift during the campaign for Ohio Wesleyan. Dr. David Hamilton Smith is credited with discovering many vaccines for the prevention of infectious diseases, specifically pediatric meningitis, respiratory infections, whooping cough, middle ear infections, and pneumonia. And the most interesting thing of all, and maybe all scientists do this, but I was impressed, he tested these vaccines on himself in order to get them into the marketplace. If you want to read a little bit more about David Hamilton Smith, he received Ohio Wesleyan's Distinguished Achievements Citation in 1992, and those citations are on the Ohio Wesleyan website as well. So on to the awards. And just in case anybody gets a little too lengthy with their speech, I'm not there to creep up behind you and get the hook. I don't think anyone will, but I am prepared if need be. So what I will do is I will introduce the introducers, I guess is the best way to describe it, who will introduce the recipients. And I think this is a nice tradition. We encourage the recipient to choose who introduces them. So I think that's really neat. And I'm grateful for those folks who have prepared the remarks for tonight. So first I will introduce Ann Connaught. Oh, there she is in everybody's a lot on your red shirt I see. who is class of 1961. She is a longtime friend of mine from our days that continue with the Columbus Minette Club. Her mom was also an Ohio Wesleyan grad, and she will introduce our first recipient, Marilyn Ellis Haas. So I turn it over to Ann.
Thank you. Marilyn and I pledged Delta Gamma in 1957. We kept in touch after college, so you can imagine my excitement when I found out that Marilyn and Barry were moving from Colorado to Columbus. They arrived in 2010 and lived 5 minutes from me. True to Marilyn's engaging personality, it wasn't long before we let intervening years melt away and we became forever friends. It just so happens that the National Executive Office for Delta Gamma is in Columbus. Soon after they moved here, the longtime archivist retired from the DG office and Marilyn was hired to replace her. She loved this job and excelled at it. Much of the history was already in her head. While she was working at that office, she also became president of Wesleyan's Delta Gamma Alpha Rho House Corporation at a time when the house needed many repairs. Many trips she and Barry made to the house. One summer, it became routine for Marilyn and Barry to make 2 to 3 trips per week to make sure the exterior painting was being done correctly. Not only did this job bring her closer to a lot of alums, but the DGs at the house just loved her. She got to know them so much that she was seen at their sporting events. Marilyn is one of the most giving and loving people I know. It's easy to see why I take great pleasure in introducing Marilyn Ellis Haas as the 2020 recipient of the David Hamilton Smith Greek Alumni Award. Congratulations, Marilyn.
Go ahead, Marilyn.
I'm trying to unmute her. Hold on.
Marilyn, if you put your mouse on the screen and then down to the bottom left, there should.
I
There you
did.
go.
I
There it
think
is.
I unmuted me and you did it at the same time and muted me back. But anyway, I just am so thankful to Ann. I'm thankful to Laurie, whose mother was a Delta Gamma, and I'm thankful to Carrie, who's really been very patient with me on getting on Zoom and all of this. And I'm very grateful to the Greek Award Committee and Greek Life at Ohio Wesleyan just for taking on and planning this whole thing during the COVID crisis. But and I am really honored to be one of the recipients of the David Hamilton Smith Greek Alumni Award. Even though I never met him, I came to school, as Ann said, in 1957. I am familiar with his legacy to the Mu chapter of Delta Kappa Delta and what he stood for as a researcher, as an entrepreneur, just discovering all these vaccines. We really probably could use him today, but what a wonderful example of a Greek he is. And the amazing thing, I guess I want to share is when you're a Greek alumni, I don't think people expect to be rewarded for their volunteer work. I think we each do it out of love for our sororities and fraternities, the experiences that we had as undergraduate members, and the lifelong friendships we've made as collegians. I have been blessed by these experiences, and as the group discussed a little earlier, one of the greatest pleasures I had in all of our moves was looking for and joining an alumni group. And I not only found immediate friends, I continued to help Delta Gamma collegiate and alumni chapters. So when we moved back to Columbus in 2010, it really was only natural for me to want to continue my involvement with collegiate chapters, one by Alpha Rho at Ohio Wesleyan, founded May 10th, 1924. And so we got together a group of alumni and collegiate officers, and we all worked to improve our chapter lodge and celebrate our collegians and the chapter's accomplishments, both at Ohio Wesleyan, but also as a Delta Gamma fraternity chapter. The chapter did win national recognition at our conventions for their as the best small chapter without a house or without it living in a house, I should say. We call our house a lodge. It is a home, and it just has been very, very rewarding to me as a volunteer to return to Delaware, my home campus, and to do good, which is DG's motto. So I thank you to all the women who have worked effortlessly to accomplish great things for our DG chapters for 96 years, really. The leadership of the collegiate women and the alumni continues to be strong for the Delta Gamma bishops, and we are thriving, and we are very involved in many activities on campus. And Maddie certainly is a wonderful example of that. I just have never been more proud to be a Greek. And so I guess my message really to the collegians is to stay involved and volunteer in your Greek or your bishop alumni organizations. It's a wonderful experience. You'll find immediate friends no matter where you live. And now even internationally, there are groups that meet or communicate through email. But it's just a great time to be a bishop. So go bishops. And look at my wall. I found my dink. Back in 1957, when I went to school, you had to wear a dink as a freshman. So I found that along with the pennant. Had to stick it up there. But it was such fun. And I am just so grateful for the university in my experience there and Delta Gamma. Thank you.
Do we clap? Is that what we do? Everybody?
Yeah, you do that.
We can do that. Thank you, Marilyn.
Thank you.
And thank you for remembering my 93-year-old mother as a Delta Gamma.
Isn't that wonderful?
At Alpha Rho. So,
thank you.
Next up is our presenter for Kappa Alpha Theta. I know her name very well. She's our Chief Executive Officer, Maya Verghese, and she is the current CEO of Gamma Deuteron chapter, which is my chapter. And in addition to that, she is very involved on other leadership positions on campus, and I'm delighted to have her introduce Amy Anderson McClure.
Hi. Like Laurie said, my name's Maya Verghese. I'm a senior at Ohio Wesleyan studying early childhood education and psychology. I currently serve as the Chief Executive Officer of our Kappa Alpha Theta chapter and the President of Kappa Delta Pi, the International Honorary Society in Education, two organizations that Amy McClure has contributed to significantly. I have the privilege of having her as a professor and advisor before her retirement in 2019. When Carrie asked me to introduce Amy for this award, I ran to my sorority house to find her composite. It took me a second to find it, but I did. I admire the portrait of 22-year-old Amy about to graduate with a bachelor's degree in pre-law and history. In her composite, I see myself because Amy is in my shoes, a young woman capable of anything she put her mind to, yet unaware of her future possibilities. Little did Amy know that she would spend the next 50 years changing the life of every student she has taught. Young Amy couldn't have imagined returning to OU as an education professor of 40 years, 15 of which she served as the department chair, or leading the department through its first accreditation review, co-founding a Good Start School, receiving prestigious awards like the Bishop Herbert Welch Meritorious Teaching Award and the International Literacy Association Award, or sitting alongside Eric Carle as they celebrated his birthday, which is an opportunity that I dream of. Amy continues to be an agent of change in education while living out the values of Theta. She is everything I strive to be as a pre-service teacher and a Greek woman. I want to share a quote from a children's book, The One and Only Ivan, which received the Newbery Medal in 2013. The year Amy sat on the nominating association. Quote, "Memories are precious. They help tell us who we are." End quote. Dr. McClure, your remarkable memories are bountiful and do just that. I am grateful to share just a handful of those with you tonight. Everyone, I'm proud to introduce my teacher, role model, and sister, the one.
Oh, good grief, Maya. How am I supposed to follow up on that? Thank you so much, Maya, for that beautiful, beautiful introduction. That means so much to me. And thank you, committee, for this honor. It has been such a privilege to be part of the Greek community at Ohio Wesleyan. First as a student, as a faculty member, where I often had to advocate for sororities and fraternities and the importance of them. And I was even a chapter advisor. I just wanted to give you a little bit of history of my own experience in a sorority, but also my experiences in a time when the sorority and fraternity system almost completely collapsed and died. From my first year as a student at Ohio Wesleyan, the Greek community really provided me with a nurturing group of friends, leadership opportunities. I was president of my pledge class, my husband, who I met at the Delt House, and a home away from home. I came here pretty much on my own from South Florida. I knew absolutely no one. And after experiencing a beautiful fall, we had the most brutal winter we'd had in 20 years, and it was 40 degrees below zero regularly. I almost perished because I had not experienced snow since I was 8 years old. Both my parents were Greeks. They were Greeks at Ohio Wesleyan. So I grew up hearing the stories of pinning circles, serenades, and sulfur spring dousings, and all of those things. So I was probably predestined to go Greek. But then, actually going through Rush at a time when sororities were considered irrelevant, I pledged Theta. It really confirmed that Greek membership was the right thing for me. In Theta, I encountered other women who valued things that I valued: friendships, academics, traditions, you know, that I thought were so, it was important to preserve those. So this was the era of the late 60s and early 70s, a time when tremendous change occurred on campus. Those of you that lived through that know that our freshman year, we had to be in by 9 o'clock, and we had no men or any extracurricular beverages allowed. And by the end of our senior year, it was no holds barred. Everything was allowed. People were questioning the relevance of everything, but especially they were questioning the Greek system. Was there a place for social groups that selected members? Did those groups hold down women in traditional roles? Or were there an opportunity for them to empower women? Were single gender organizations outdated? It was a critical time for the whole Greek system, but particularly at Ohio Wesleyan, because I believe so strongly on the power of sororities to nurture and develop and help women become, you know, achieve the potential they have within them. I really became committed to advocating for sororities and the Greek system. So I served first as a rush guide so that I could help freshman women see the value of being part of a fraternity, sorority. I was Panhandle president, so that we worked together to band together to really keep the system going. So we nurtured each other rather than being competitive with each other. And that made all the difference. The Greek system survived. We got stronger. We were more united. And we were better than we were before. Additionally, I'll just tell you another story. WCSA representation at that time was done through establishing what they called political parties. And people were nominated by their party to serve on WCSA. So the number of delegates you had on WCSA was determined by the number of people who affiliated with your party. So Rusty, my husband, and I, he wasn't my husband then, of course, along with other key people, developed a Greek party. And it was a way to provide the Greek system with a voice and a stake in the campus governance system. And I think, and Rusty might correct me on this, I think we were the biggest party on campus. So we really were successful in bringing the Greek system to the forefront of campus life and really showing that we were an important part of the Ohio Wesleyan community. So I think today at Ohio Wesleyan, we have a Panhellenic system that really defies that stereotype of Greeks as sort of party people and, you know, just having fun only. I have found wonderful, wonderful young women like Maya, like Maddie, like so many other women I've had as students. They are really working together for the common good of the system. They focus on service and academics. Yes, they have fun, they do fun stuff, but they really are a positive influence on the campus. I am convinced that being part of the Greek system has helped them develop the leadership qualities so that they can achieve those goals, and that they are not irrelevant to today's student life or today's life. I think they are at the center of what we want young people to be thinking about and doing. So if I can leave you all with, as alums, I heard some of the people on the panel say, please come and get involved. Absolutely, I would recommend that you do that. These young people are interested in being around you, knowing what your lives have turned out to be, and just help them in rush, help them provide wise counsel on the house corporations, all those great things. Another issue is that there are many wonderful young women on Ohio Wesleyan's campus who cannot afford being part of a sorority. So maybe we can set up a scholarship fund, you know, that can help young women who really want to be part of that system, to allow them to have that opportunity. So, because I think what we want to show them is that this is a bond that is way beyond Ohio Wesleyan. It's for the rest of your lives. Benita said it so beautifully. She said, I am, you know, a Delta for the rest of my life. But I just think that that's such an important piece of what we can do to sort of keep that tradition going. So I think the Greek system has been and continues to be an important part of Ohio Wesleyan. I'm so glad to see people like Maya and Maddie doing great things. And I'm so proud for them to be part of the long tradition and for me to help contribute to that long tradition. So thank you again, committee. Appreciate this.
It won't let me do it.
There.
Okay. Can people hear me now? Okay, good. Thank you, Amy, and fellow sister. Congratulations on your award. And last but not least, it was ladies first after all. Scott Donaldson will introduce his brother, Rusty McClure. Scott has been a very involved OWU alumnus with his fraternity, as well as representing the Interfraternity Council, IFC, on the OWU Alumni Association Board. So I hand it over to Scott Donaldson.
Thank you, Laurie. I appreciate it. First, hopefully everybody can hear me okay. But I just wanted to say that I'm truly honored to be able to speak about my brother, Rusty McClure. You know, during our time on Earth, you get a chance to meet a few people in your life who can make an indelible mark upon you. And Rusty is certainly one of those impactful people. It would be obviously a shame for me to skip over his academic achievements at Ohio Wesleyan, at Emory, at Harvard Business School. It would be a shame to blow past all of his business successes over the years, and an absolute travesty not to mention his best-selling books, his wonderful books, his appearance on History Channel's Ancient Aliens, his many wonderful experiences, his influential friends and business associates. But I'm going to do exactly that, and I'm just going to talk about his contributions to Mu chapter of Delta Tau Delta at Ohio Wesleyan. Even before I met Rusty a little over 4 years ago, I asked the current undergraduates about him, and they lovingly told me about his entrepreneurship class and how much they really enjoyed the experiences that they had there, and always to negotiate. But when Rusty was invited to dinner by Sean Tate, who was our president in 2011, he hadn't returned to the chapter house in a number of years, and he always tells me that he liked the guys then when he met them, but that the dining room had not been updated since it was built in the 50s, really, and it was in a state of disrepair. And the undergraduates and recent alums were calling it the kitchen, which, by the way, please don't mention that within earshot of him. It's the dining room. Many people may have returned home to their wonderful spouses, like Dr. Amy McClure, and mentioned that things were in a sorry state and moved on, but not Rusty. He put together a booklet with his plans to improve the kitchen and dining room, and he personally sent that to all of our alums. He spearheaded fundraising efforts and contributed the vast majority of the money to make the project happen. Following this, he gathered teams of undergraduates. Because it was so important that he could have their buy-in on all these projects, but especially this first one. He sought out someone in Sarasota, Florida, which is a meaningful place to his family, to create a special bronze shield for a prominent wall. He designed dividing walls so that people couldn't set cups or plates or mugs on top, and it would look junky. Most importantly, he created a special mosaic heart tile on the floor to commemorate where he met Amy, as she mentioned during her speech, which is very important. And it's something that our members tell each other about, or when somebody comes in and they are giving them a tour of the shelter, they point that out. I mention all of this just to explain that when Rusty goes after something, or he commits to something, he goes so above and beyond, it's dazzling. And that same can be said for the grand entrance on Park Avenue, the living room, the Branch Rickey Library, the flagpole in the Hoopla Circle, each and every bathroom, and the amazing secret chapter hall and antechamber. Each one of these projects has his amazing creativity and his attention to every conceivable detail. Rusty makes sure that we have a regular fireside chat lecture scheduled a couple times a year, and that we focus on various aspects of life both during undergraduate and thereafter. He meets with our new members shortly after they sign bids to talk to them about how to foster academic success, how to be successful in your classes. He's even designed t-shirts and hired professional casino dealers to create a poker night, poker tournament. He's hosted numerous meetings, whether they're at Muirfield Village Golf Club, Buns, 1808, his office, McDonald's, Starbucks, it doesn't matter. If the meeting is important, he's going to make it happen. He's always available via cell phone to speak to a member of our leadership team or a current or former student. A current former student or an alum generally will reach out to him almost every day via text. And so it's obvious that the indelible mark is not just made upon me and the others who are on this call as well. When we sign our bids to Delta Tau Delta, one of the very first lessons that we learn is to give of our time, talent, and treasure, both while we're members and after we leave Ohio Wesleyan. And I can't really think of anyone who exemplifies these principles more than Rusty McClure. Rusty's totally and completely elevated our fraternity and has made my involvement personally some of the most fulfilling. And so I'm truly blessed to call him a brother, a friend, and a mentor. And on behalf of all past, present, and future Delts, I say thank you. And without further ado, it's my absolute honor and privilege to introduce Rusty McClure.
Well, thank you, Scott. I hope you can hear me. I just unmuted. Do I get a thumbs up from some of you that you can hear me? Okay, good. Thank you. Thanks again, Scott, and thank you all for the award. Thank you to my brothers who I see have tuned in. I see John and Jason at least, and some others who I saw come in and out. Thank you, Amy, for making my great fraternity experience the greatest, greater. My meeting Amy in the dining room when we were 18-year-old freshman pledges will forever be the most significant and great experience of my life, and the most fortunate experience of my life. So people, we are, that is, Amy and I are testimony to just how good fraternity and sorority life can be. I only have two remarks. I'm going to divide this little piece into two pieces. First of all, I want to talk about student recruitment. I was a grade school kid when my grandfather used to bring me to Delaware, and we would eat in his fraternity. And I met fraternity guys, and I was impressed with what I saw, and I was even more impressed with what I felt. I was more impressed with what I felt. And when I was in high school, two of my buddies came up one time from Cincinnati to Ohio Wesleyan and spent a long weekend in another fraternity, a totally different fraternity. And it was because three members of my Cincinnati high school were in that fraternity. And those guys took us to their classes, they introduced us to their professors, and they took us to an away football game. And they even lent us their gym clothes so we could go down to the gym and play basketball with them or against them. And again, I was impressed with what I experienced and most impressed with what I felt. My second observation, and I only have two, is under the heading student retention. A couple of years ago, a current faculty member, I believe, studied, this is like 2 years ago, studied retention at Ohio Wesleyan. And a part of that study plotted the wrestling team, the women's field hockey team, the retention rates by class of these different organizations, and the resident hall domiciles. Missing was any notice or measurement of the retention effects of membership in fraternities and sororities. Totally absent. So, I'm going to end these remarks with the Delta Tau Delta Mu chapter student retention story that is the story we live by, the story that the Mu chapter lives by. Branch Rickey was a contemporary of my McClure grandfather here on the Ohio Wesleyan campus. I mean, they were in the same era. My grandfather played football and they knew each other. And Branch Rickey was a contemporary of my mother's father because they both owned Major League Baseball franchises. So with probably only one exception that I know of, I knew Branch Rickey. Branch Rickey was a poor kid from southeast Ohio. And he came to Ohio Wesleyan and he joined Delta Tau Delta. And he was on campus for a couple of months as a pledge in Delta Tau Delta and as a pretty superstar athlete on a campus where Ohio Wesleyan played Ohio State and Michigan. Not as impressive as one might think then. Now. And Branch Rickey looked around and said, I can't make it in the classroom. I'm a poor kid. I'm not comfortable here. And he quit. Branch Rickey quit Ohio Wesleyan and went home. He went home to Southeast Ohio and he was done, except for 4 Delt brothers who got on a train and rode down to Southeast Ohio and convinced Branch Rickey, the Branch Rickey that everybody brags about, to come back to Ohio Wesleyan. They would help him with his schoolwork. They would help him intercede with the professors that he was afraid of. They would help him make it at Ohio Wesleyan because they cared. And we tell that story and we live by that story at Delta Tau Delta 20 Williams Drive today. That is the Branch Rickey story. That's the Ohio Wesleyan story. And we have a bunch of guys who care. Thank you for the award. Thank you for keeping Ohio Wesleyan great. Good night.
Thank you, Rusty. And congratulations to all of our presenters and our recipients especially. It's an honor to chair this committee. And please don't forget to submit your nominations for next year's recipients. Again, it's June 1st of next year online. Our new committee will be meeting tomorrow. I'll see some of these faces again tomorrow. Stacy Sheehan, Zach Katona, Edie Bayer, Nancy Biel-Rutkowski, Carlos Govea, and Maddie Miller are on the committee this year. And we will be poring over our the applications that we have received and are looking forward to learning more about what great things Ohio Wesleyan alumni and alumni are doing to support our Greek community, which we all believe in and support here at Ohio Wesleyan. And I understand from Carrie that if you would like to stay on a little bit longer and pretend that we're all together with cookies and punch, whatever you have, water, whatever you're drinking tonight. I do thank you very much for tuning in and am grateful for your support and of our collegians and our alumni at Ohio Wesleyan, the school we all love best.